Welcome to How to Sell More. Today, we're talking YouTube CTAs that convert with Mike Sherrard. He is an entrepreneur who shifted from an engineering background to real estate, quickly becoming a record-shattering multi-million-dollar top producer at EXP. And he did it all without resorting to a single outdated prospecting tactic. I love it. I'm Mark Drager. Let's get into it. So, Mike, I got to list off some of these stats, and I don't normally do this, but you have built a huge following on YouTube and other social media channels. You are top 30 realtor on social media worldwide. You've helped over 5,000 realtors scale their businesses using social media. And so we're going to talk about YouTube, but what's really interesting is, we just had Evan Carmichael on the podcast a few weeks ago. So if you want a real deep dive on YouTube, listener, go back and listen to those 3 deep dives with YouTube. But the reason why I wanted to bring Mike on is because he's done the YouTube stuff. He's built the YouTube stuff. But then what's the next step of how do we generate leads? How do we generate money? How do we make money from all of the social media activities we're doing? And you, Mike, are an expert at that, right?
Yeah, no, it's completely changed my business. So I'm super excited to be here. Thank you again for the opportunity. And I'm ready to dive in.
Okay, so let's assume that anyone who's listening to this knows about YouTube strategies, or they've gone back, like I've suggested, they've listened to the Evan Carmichael 3-part deep dive that we talk about how to use YouTube. So let's set that aside for a second. We have YouTube content, we have a following, no matter how big it is. What do you do? How do you turn those subscribers, those viewers, those people following you into business, into leads, into opportunities?
Yeah, I think, what you said there in terms of whatever your following might be, I think is the key statement there, which is that a lot of people, when it comes to YouTube or any social platform, get really consumed with the vanity metrics. And what I've proven is that you can...
I know I do.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And, what I've found is that you can do wildly profitable things with YouTube if you are the master of driving traffic. So, one of the things that I'm very much bullish on is that if you don't call the action, no action gets taken, but you also have to get clear at the action that you want people to take. And what I mean by that is that so many people are accustomed to watching these big YouTube channels, and basically the call to action is please make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And when I look at this, I ask individuals that are looking to scale on YouTube and say, are likes, comments, subscriptions the end goal and the KPI that you're looking for? Or are you looking for leads, conversations, and appointments? So I think it's really important to be able to, again, grow your audience and focus on that organic engagement. But the 2 things that I've done really well is getting clarity on the offer and getting clarity on the call to action. So the first thing that I'll do within the first minute is after I hook people, then I'll go straight into a call to action that is free or value driven. So usually it's some sort of free training, a webinar, which is going to lead to a funnel. But this is where the magic happens. This is what the one decision I made, which has led to multiple 7 figures a year. A lot of people say, click the link in the description for my free training, whatever that might be, my lead magnet, whatever. What I started realizing is, well, if people are going to click the link in the description, it's going to be there anyway. Then there's no engagement. So what I do is I just tell people, hey, comment below free training or this specific statement. And then I will reply with the link to the free training. And what you'll see in some of my videos is I'm replying with the exact same link, but there's thousands of comments on something that otherwise would have got tens because everybody wants it. But now when you call the action and you tell them what you want them to do, instead of just going to the description and clicking on it, now I reply and engage with conversation. So that's been one of the biggest mediums is within that minute, call to action that's value driven for the outcome that you're looking for, asking them to comment to get that action, and then replying at scale using my team in order to create organic conversations. Then midway through the video, you'll say, if you like this and you've earned their like, right? I see so many people saying, like, comment, subscribe. Well, you haven't even given them anything yet, right? Let's earn that. But that's been one of the biggest game changers, driving traffic to the funnel through organic conversation.
Okay, let's break this down. So, Mike, you just gave us like this secret recipe, and I love it. And if I can, I'm going to point out some things that I've heard you say and some assumptions I've made from a strategy point of view, and let's break this down. So, First of all, we're creating content on YouTube regularly, and we're putting it out there. First mistake people make is they don't drive people to the number one goal or KPI. And while viewers and comments and engagement and subscribers and all that stuff's nice, if we want business, we need to get people off the platform. We need to be able to capture their email. We need to be able to get them into a conversation or a booking or something. And so this is really interesting though. So number one, you move it within the first minute. I've actually seen this. I've watched I've gotten into like drumming and guitar channels, even though I'm not a musician, but I like the history of music and how they do it. And I've noticed that some of these really great channels will go like, oh, we're going to go through a drumming demo for this song. And like a minute in, like you're saying, they go, listen, if you want the free tabs or the guide or whatever the heck it is that drummers use, I don't know. If you want it, go ahead. And we've made it for you. So like people aren't just coming up with one thing. They're coming up with a download or a topic or some kind of offer for each piece of content. And then right away in the first minute, they're saying, as you're watching this, keep in mind that if you want this thing, I will totally give it to you. That's what you're doing, you're saying.
100%.
Okay. So that's step one. And then step two is rather than have someone just passively click on a link, you are actually hacking the fact that YouTube likes like thumbs up or thumbs down or continuing to watch and click on a second video or leave a comment are all considered engagement in YouTube's eyes. And so rather than just get people to click on something, you're getting them to comment below. So that way you actually force more engagement.
Yep.
And that doesn't like throw people off or anything. Like they just do it.
It's wild. There's some of my tutorials that are out there where there's literally 2,000, 2,500 comments of people all saying free training or webinar or social media guide or free tutorial. And the same link is responded in every single one. And they still do it because, again, a lot of times people aren't going to go through the effort. Convenience sells, right? So when you look at it, a lot of times when you tell people to do something, they're just going to do it without thinking, oh, because it's an extra thought, if I have to go through other people's comments. So it works incredibly well. And I can get to, and we could dive into this as well, but how to actually build the brand trust to get people to even want to comment, which is going to be another big takeaway that we can dive into.
Okay, let's get that in a second. So are you using like ManyChat or any kind of automated system that will allow you to put in a keyword and auto respond, or are you manually responding to everything?
I think that's one of the biggest things is, customer journey at the end of the day is all that we are, which is how people feel before, during, and after having an experience with you. And watching a video is an experience, right? So one of the things that we do, and I've got an incredible team where they will go through, and if your name's Mark, they will say, hey, Mark, thank you so much for the comment. Here's the link. And they will make it slightly different every single time, because if you're mass spamming, YouTube knows that. But if you personalize it, it makes people feel seen, heard, appreciated, and like it's not an automation. So we humanize that aspect of it by getting my team to do it. I used to do it in the beginning, but it makes, yeah, I know.
I can just imagine the like, Control P, Control V, type.
Yeah, exactly. But when, people, their number one thing that they like to hear is their name. So when you can reply with that, now they feel special. And now they're also more indoctrinated into the process of actually wanting to go click whatever that free guide, training, or webinar is.
Okay. Let's jump into, so you're saying that you have a strategy or there's some kind of unlock to even be able to build up enough trust to get people to leave comments? Like I hadn't even considered really whether there's this threshold or something that you have to do to, from a psychological point of view, to have people even feel comfortable to comment. So what is this?
Big time. And I think the person that's the best at proving this is somebody like Alex Hormozi, which is that in today's day, information is no longer novel. And what a lot of people used to do is they used to use call to actions as the gateway to value. So what people would do is they would tease enough to get people curious. And then the only way to get something of value and something tactical and practical that you could implement that day was to go to this free guide, get upsold, whatever the situation is. But when you look at the ones that are winning, what they're understanding is that information is no longer novel. What people are paying for, what people are curious about is intimacy, proximity, and strategy. So what you'll start to realize, and this is what I've been able to do in order to excite that mass engagement, and even just launching, something recently and having an overwhelming response from it in terms of sales conversions, is that I religiously scan the landscape of my industry and I consume other people's content. And I think one of the concepts that's important is if you want full-time results from something, you need to put full-time effort into it. So I'm consuming religiously what the benchmark of what everybody else is doing. I buy everybody else's programs that are in my industry. I look at what they're selling and what they're charging. And what I do on my YouTube channel is I say, okay, here's the landscape of what other people are providing. I'm going to go 6 layers deeper and give you more value for free than they do in their paid $2,000-$3,000 programs. So when I do that, what people come and they say this in my comments all the time is, wow, I've gotten more from this one free video than a $5,000 program I've paid for. Well, if you created that customer journey for them and that experience where you become synonymous with over delivering in quality, whenever you do go for that call to action, they're like, oh my God, what else can I get? How much more can I get from this? If this is free, now what happens when I go a layer deeper and I go into a paid opportunity?
Can I ask about the purple car?
Let's
Like,
go.
you know, you're this is even a side note because I've gone back through all of your stuff and you have, you know, the sports cars, you have the nice clothes, you're flying to really expensive private masterminds, you got a great brand, you got a great website. I can see you're wearing Milet's you know, private mastermind shirt and stuff on your photos and everything. Do you like bump up against like bro hustle culture because it sells and it works on social? Because I've gone back far enough to see that wasn't who you always were.
No.
And so as long as we're talking about know, like, trust, help me understand, I guess, how strategic you are with your brand and whether you're leaning into some of these, like, you know, the planes and the money and the cars and all of this stuff that I think tends to attract more like teenage 20, you know, year old people who just want fast cash as opposed to the types of entrepreneurs I typically work with. So talk to me about that decision.
So a really great metric is that I'm the number one recruiter globally at eXp Realty, and the average agent is 55 years old. So when we look at who we're attracting, that's the metric that I want people to focus on. So here's the story of that, is that when I got started in real estate, I was broke. I had no money and I didn't have money to advertise, but I had about 3K in my bank account. Color psychology, purple, luxury branding, you know, luxury royalty and ambition. That's why I wrap my car purple. Just because the car has changed.
And hold on. And it was a purple BMW originally, and now you're driving a Targa Top Lambo. So you've moved up a little bit in your lease payments.
Yeah, so I've got two, you know, I've got the Lamborghini Urus as well. But here's the thing, Mark, which is the most important part. One of my first videos, which is one of my most disliked YouTube videos, was me at Lamborghini when I had $2,500 bank account saying, one day I'm going to have one of these. Because I documented my journey on YouTube, door knocking in the snow, door knocking a -10, all of the things that I've done. The craziest part is that when I took delivery of that Lamborghini, I got thousands of DMs from people saying, Mike, I feel like I was taking delivery of that too, because I've seen your journey and I know that's what you wanted to achieve from day one. So I think, unlike many people, a lot of people come out with this hustler culture, as you alluded to, where they somehow get their money, then they're flaunting all of this stuff. Because people have seen me retire my parents and take them on their dream trips and give back to kids and document my journey from day one, I've never had to face that. And when you look at me at the end of the day, like right now is how I dress 24/7, t-shirt, sweatpants, and sneakers. That doesn't change. The car might change because that's a passion of mine, but you'll see that if you go to my Instagram, I very rarely post the vehicle, I post value. So I think when you're looking at this from a branding aspect, it's important to be genuine, and cars are my passion. So of course, as I started doing better, the cars got a little bit nicer, but the essence of why I do what I do has never changed, which is, again, over deliver on value and looking at the impact that I can make. So I genuinely have never fallen into that kind of bucket of the younger people because I'm tasteful with it.
And the people you're targeting, the men, women, late 40s, early 50s, 55, what have you, who are moving into, your real estate brokerage or whatever it is that you're pushing or selling them into, they like this? They don't mind? They don't get turned off by it?
They absolutely love it. And I get this feedback all the time because I documented it, right? So for me, by documenting the journey and by speaking it to, into existence and sharing this when I had no money, when it happened, people were less fixated on the object and more fixated on the process. So what I mean by that is, like, yeah, I've got a car. Your thing might be a crazy fishing trip, or it might be a certain journey with your family or whatever.
Listen, man, I have clients and I have friends who invested millions of dollars into automated manufacturing equipment. that is impressive as hell. Where I remember walking out of a factory once, 70,000 square foot, family run factory, metal manufacturing. And as we walked out at night, the plant was empty. The machinery was working, and the owner went, "You hear that? That's the sound of me making money as I go home tonight." And I was like, dude, he has the most baller equipment in the world, but he doesn't brag about it.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk about it, and he doesn't share his journey. And so what I'm kind of exploring with you is like, I get what you're saying, and you seem so genuine and so legit. I wonder if there's an opportunity for those of us to grab the thing like you did with the car or the passion or whatever it might be, grab our own thing that we're most proud of and love the most and start sharing those journeys more.
I think that's one of the most important principles that we can take from this conversation. You know, just to really solidify that conversation, the month before I got into real estate, I got my hair cut for the real estate photos. And I told my barber, one day I'm going to be driving a Lamborghini, mark my word. And I was broke, right? I could barely afford the haircut. I just moved into my new lake house here, and it's in the community that I used to live in. I went back to the hairdresser, the barber's still there, and I pulled up in the Lamborghini. He's like, dude, I followed you from day one. You said you were going to do it, and look at what you've done. So again, I think the essence of it is more so the concept that people are latching onto, which is being able to manifest, being able to not take no for an answer and listen to all the negativity and all those things and be able to bring your visions to life instead of looking at the object, looking at that journey that could be emulated by other people.
So if we can circle around on the tactical stuff, thanks for letting me just dig into that a little bit more, because I've learned a long time ago doing thousands of these podcast interviews over 7 or 8 years is if I see something and wonder about it, I always kick myself when I don't ask about it. So I'm just like, it's just, I couldn't right size you, the real you, and this thing that I thought you were, which I appreciate. So let's get back to the idea that if we're on YouTube, and we are asking people through a call to action to comment below this keyword so I can give you this amazing free tool, and we're not automating it, I have to imagine it's pretty complicated to keep track of all these comments, all these offers, all these downloads. You say you have a team, which is great. If I'm someone who does not have this team, walk me through the next few steps to get from, I don't even do any of this. I'm putting out the videos and I'm putting out the content, but I'm not capturing things properly. What are the next few steps to be able to build a system like you have?
100%. So, and this is what I did just a year and a half, 2 years ago. So one of the things that I'm huge, kind of believer in is that if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist. So I'm a huge advocate of time blocking and productivity and making sure you're managing your time. So would comments on a daily basis, checking them frequently, become overwhelming? Of course. But what I did is I just blocked in a 30-minute window every single morning before I went to the gym at 4:30. And I would just sit there as I'm drinking my pre-workout and reply to every single comment. And I would take it in and I would be genuine about it. But it became a repetitive meeting in my calendar so that I prioritized it, because you will always make time for your priorities, right? So instead of just doing it on the fly, build it into your calendar. So I think if people are looking to get started, and let's say you're putting out content, the first thing is getting clarity on your offer. The second thing is, once you get clarity on your offer, looking that unbiasedly against the landscape of everybody else that you're competing against in a similar space, and genuinely ask yourself, if you didn't know who you were, what you've achieved, or the value that you bring, would you click on your offer versus everybody else's? And I think once you can look at that through an unbiased lens, that in essence is you putting yourself in the consumer's shoes, which embodies consumer behavior. If other people would do it, so would you, right? So get clarity on, is that even, as Hormozi would say, an irresistible offer? Right? Is that better than the landscape of other people? Once you get clarity on that offer, then you archetype the customer journey, which is before, during, and after people work with you or have an experience with you. So ask yourself, after they comment on your videos, when they click on that link or whatever it ends up being, what is the experience they're going to have there? And is that going to be memorable? And you really have to think about this, because at the end of the day, Mr. B says this, which is, if you want to get better at content, just put out better content. Like, if you're not growing, it's because your videos suck. Well, if people aren't engaging, it's because you might need to tweak the offer to make it more enticing and make it more valuable, right? So if other people are putting out free content that's better than your paid stuff, you've got a really big problem. So flip it upside down and give more free stuff than other people's paid content, to the point when you ask for that call to action, it becomes a no-brainer when people are looking to engage with you.
Episode 1 of How to Sell More podcast, we had Jeff Lerner on. He ended our conversation by saying that information is free, transformation is paid. And that's how he operates his business. And I think it works so well with everything that you're sharing. The only thing I would say for offer development, I call it a damn good reason to buy, because I think that puts the point a little bit more forward than the idea of like an irresistible offer, or I've heard people say the Godfather offer, right? Like an offer you can't refuse. But mostly it's like you got to give people a damn good reason to buy. And you can't be, and it can't be a reason. I would say, I'd like your thoughts on this. I would say it can't even be a good enough reason for you to buy, because you know your stuff and you love your stuff and you live in a bubble and you think it's awesome and you would totally do it because you made it for you. I feel like your damn good reason to buy has to be like for someone who is not interested at all and not even like you at all. But that's my own approach to it, because I am cynical and skeptical and think there's never a good reason to ever do anything.
Definitely. Well, it's good you say that, but I think that's what separates the ones that are making under 6 figures and the ones making 7, 8, 9 figures. Is I've, over the last few years of putting out content, have been able to genuinely put myself in somebody who's unbiased in their shoes and say, would I actually click on this? Like, I don't care that I know that it's valuable. I don't care what I know, what I've done, or my credibility. I'm actually looking at this through the unbiased lens. So I think that shift, that one very shift that most people struggle with because they are biased, once you can get to the point where you're genuinely, authentically unbiased, your life will change forever, because it's not just your offer, it's your thumbnails. Would you click on your thumbnail versus the top 3 that are currently ranking for that search title? Watch those 3 videos. Do you find your video more entertaining, educational, and value than the other 3? Once you can get to that unbiased ecosystem in that space, you'll be able to print money and you'll be able to print leads because you're able to view through the consumer's shoes. But because most people struggle with that, that's why their offers are suffering.
So Mike Sherrard, final question for you. I end every single podcast interview the same way because I would love to know, what is your number 1 tip or strategy for us to sell more?
Number 1 tip or strategy to sell more is that unbiased lens. I think once you can look through the consumer's shoes, you're going to be golden. But I think I'll take it one step further, because we already talked about that. My one biggest thing would be trusting the process, looking at what other people have done and emulating that. I think a lot of people look to reinvent the wheel. They're looking for that novel, new, shiny penny unicorn opportunity. You look at what Evan's done. You look at what all these other people have done. They've given you the roadmap of what's proven to work. Bring that to your space, put your own flavor on it, and you'll never have to worry about it again. Because guess what? These people like Evan with millions of subscribers, they have done the research for you. They've proven what works with a much bigger budget and following. So if it works for them, bring it into your own space and you're going to be set from day one.
Okay, to wrap up this episode, let's get into the 3-point roundup. Number 1, you got to have a clear call to action. Anyone you're talking to, any user must be guided with a really clear and very direct call to action that's going to help them get closer to their goals. And if you hack the system the way that Mike taught us to, I think you'll find that we can play the algorithm a lot better than just saying, hey, go find it off somewhere. Make it easy for them, drop it in the comment below, and I will get you everything you need. I love that. Number 2, if you want engagement, you have to actually invite it. You actually have to create a space that fosters connections. And so often people jump into content and social media and marketing and all this stuff thinking of it as a push strategy. And then they wonder why they don't get any connections, why they don't get any engagement, why they don't get any feedback. Well, you're not inviting it. So if you really want to be able to foster genuine connections and have that engagement you're looking for, don't just consider your social or your content strategy as a broadcasting point of view, pushing stuff out, but actually invite people into the conversation. And number 3, align your social media tactics and your content with business outcomes. If you want social media, if you want content marketing to actually not only pay for itself, but generate leads and revenue for you, you can't just consider it a content distribution tool. You have to actually turn it into something where every post, every video, every interaction is in some way leading followers into leads or interested parties, which can then become clients and customers and so on. If you want your social and your content to actually pay off, you have to treat it as a business tool. Such a good episode. I want to thank Mike Sherrard for joining us. You can learn more about him check out his YouTube channel. It is on fire. He's almost getting close to 100,000 subs on YouTube, which is amazing. His handle is at Mike_Sherrard. You can also check out his website, MikeSherrard.com. See that purple Lamborghini that's there? And you can follow him on Instagram at Mike_Sherrard. Now, at the same time, while you're on Instagram, why not check us out at Sales Loop Brand? Give us a follow, drop us a DM, ask us a question. I love to connect with you. And one last thing, if you've made it this far into the show, you probably should subscribe. Why? Well, each week, I share practical strategies and tips, just like what Mike shared with us today, to supercharge your business growth and to boost sales. With that, I'm Mark Drager. We'll catch you in the next episode.